Hello, and welcome to the Living Life Unstoppable podcast. I am your host, Rochelle Crow, and we welcome you today. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here before, hello again. On this podcast, we like to help people live a life that's unstoppable. And we talk about every area of our lives. We talk about relationships, we talk about careers, we talk about kids, we talk about goals, we talk about every area of our lives we try to cover because we want to live an unstoppable life. And I am the host, Rochelle, and I am a certified life coach. I am an author. I'm a mother. I am a blogger. I do a little bit of everything under this one hat of being a life coach. So today's topic, we are going to talk about self-awareness in relationships. We often don't often talk about being self-aware in any aspect of our life. Sometimes that can be a hard pill to swallow. That could be a hard thing to do, is just being self-aware and being aware of what you are doing in a situation, what you're doing in a relationship, what you are doing in a business. So today we're going to talk about being self-aware in relationships. And this can be a relationship, a romantic relationship. This can be a business relationship. This can be a relationship with your kids, with other family members, with friends, whatever relationships you may have. We're talking about self-awareness. I do feel that it is important to be self-aware, to be aware of how you may be perceived in a relationship. You may think, oh, I'm fine, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but you have to be aware of what you may be doing that's not good in a relationship, or what can be causing your relationship to deteriorate, and how you can stop that, what you can do, how you can be more self-aware of yourself and what you're doing to so that you can build a relationship that can be unstoppable, that can grow, that can be successful. Because at the end of the day, we want our relationships to grow. We want our relationships to be prosperous and be, what they're designed to be, but we have to be aware of how we can block those things from happening, how we can prevent our relationships from growing in the way that it needs to grow because of things that we may be doing. And like I said, this is any type of relationship. So you think about your most important relationships, and let's focus in on those. Let's think about those while we're talking today. But again, we're going to talk about self-awareness, and self-awareness can be defined in two different ways. We can talk about internal self-awareness, where you're learning to understand your thoughts, your feelings, and your motivations. What are your thoughts saying about you? What are your feelings about you? And how that impacts your relationships. You can have negative thoughts about yourself and negative feelings about yourself, and that comes out in the way you respond to other people and the way other people respond to you. If I have low self-esteem, if I'm not confident in who I am, why would anybody else have confidence in me? So these are the things that you have to think about. What are you saying about yourself? What are you thinking about yourself? Also, we're talking about external, understanding how others perceive you. Others may perceive you as someone who is strong, someone who is kind, and that affects your relationship in a good way, while others may view you as someone who is not kind, someone who may be the opposite, and it may be having a negative effect on your relationships. So it's very important that you clearly understand the two, that you separate the two first of your internal thoughts and external, and it's that you have clarity about your inner thoughts and who you are and what other people and how other people view you. Because sometimes, our self-awareness, we can think we are doing the right thing, and it can lead us to have a very big ego and be on the defense when people are like, oh, nah, you missed the mark there. So we want to make sure that we truly are self-aware of ourselves in these relationships, and figure out how we need to work on ourselves if there's something that we need to work on to better ourselves, number one, and to better that particular relationship that we have with other people. Because internally, if it matters because it dictates how the world sees you. What you have going on internally dictates your relationship with other people. So it's going to influence how you show up. Like I said earlier, if I'm having thoughts of low self-esteem, low confidence, just negative vibes about myself, I'm going to show up that way. I'm going to show up with my shoulders down, with my head down, feeling weak, looking weak. And I'm not going to show up with the confidence of saying, yeah, I can do this job, or I have this under control. And that's how I'm going to show up. It's going to affect the external of how people see me and how people view me. And then when it may be time for a promotion, well, this person lacks confidence, so I don't think they're ready for a promotion. Or this person ego is so big that if we gave them this promotion, they would not be able to handle it, because they would probably their ego probably would go even higher. So we are going to focus in on how we view ourselves internally and how that affects us in many different ways. Let's start off with the low self-awareness. So when you aren't aware of yourself and your actions and the things that you are doing, you have different reactions. There are different responses to different situations that also impacts your relationship. So let's talk about the first symptom you may have is an overreaction to a situation. So let's say your partner, you have a disagreement with your partner. Your partner may come to you and say, hey, I noticed you left some dishes in the sink overnight. Do you mind making sure that we don't leave dirty dishes in the sink? And you can overreact. For whatever reason, you can overreact, and therefore you're blaming your partner for your bad mood. So now your day may be ruined because you overreacted to a partner just saying, hey, let's keep a clean kitchen. Let's not leave dirty dishes in the sink. So now you're blaming your partner for your bad mood, and then there's escalation, there's conflict escalating in your relationship that did not have to go to that point. But if you're self-aware and you sit and say, maybe I should have just washed that bowl. Maybe you had a bowl of ice cream. Let's just say that. Maybe I should have washed my bowl and my spoon. Then that would have kept the kitchen clean. And that person, my spouse, the person would feel I respect them and I respect their wishes, instead of getting super upset, overreacting to the request, and now we're in conflict. Now I'm in a bad mood when I go to work. Now we are having conflict with each other. So any little thing now can escalate it and make it worse than what it is. So that's being low. That's part of low self-awareness. That's not taking time to just be aware of how my actions are affecting that person's actions or that person in our relationship. Then you have avoidance. And this is when a person may avoid sharing how they feel for fear of rejection or fear of making that person angry or just fear in general. I've been in that place before. I've been the type of person who would want to avoid the conflict for fear of making my partner upset. Not wanting to walk on eggshells and have this person mad at me because I am not expressing how I really feel about a situation. And that creates emotional distance because I can't truly share if I'm feeling this way. If I feel like I can't truly share how I really feel, I'm emotionally disconnecting myself with that person because I'm not allowing my emotions to really tell this person how I really feel about something. So when you avoid sharing your feelings or sharing your thoughts, it creates emotional distance that then creates a space between you two, and you don't have any connection emotionally. And we know with relationships, you have to have an emotional connection. You have to have a physical connection. You have to have, I do believe, a spiritual connection. There are so many different components that connect you with your person that when one part is missing, it affects the whole part of the relationship. So even though I may have a spiritual connection with this person or a physical connection with this person, the emotional is off. And to me, emotional and spiritual are probably the highest two connections for me. So if I'm not sharing how I really feel, they don't know the true me. They don't know really who I am because emotionally there's a detachment. There's great distance in between us emotionally. They don't really know how I'm feeling. They don't really know who I am. So avoidance is a low self-awareness. It's a low symptom. It's a symptom of low self-awareness. So you have to be aware of when you're avoiding things. Is it because you just don't want to have conflict, or is there a different reason why you're trying to avoid a situation? But avoiding it because you don't want to express your feelings, that's not going to work in a relationship. That's not going to build your relationship. It's not going to make it strong. It's actually going to tear it apart. Then we have a symptom called insecurity. And that's when you're constantly seeking validation, constantly saying things and doing things to get a person's attention. It could be on your job with your boss. You're constantly trying to do things and to get your boss's approval and constantly chasing down accolades and constantly looking for promotions, trying to be promoted all the time. And it could be, and there's nothing wrong with looking for promotions and things like that. I'm not saying that, but when that's like your driving force, that's causing like a feeling of neediness. That's making me looking at you like, oh, he's a needy person. He always need affirmation. He always need someone to tell him how well he's doing. He always needs accolades. And so that makes it seem like you're needy. And it can also make it seem like you're controlling because you're constantly going after these people, seeking these people to say these things to you, trying to control the narrative instead of letting a person come to you on their own and say, you know what, you did great work on that presentation today. Great job. Instead of just letting it happen naturally. Thank you. You did a great job with washing my car today. I really appreciated that. Instead of just doing something, and this could be the case too, doing something for the accolades, doing something so that people can recognize you. It's like you're always needing that hand clap. And so that shows your insecurities, that you're not secure in yourself to know that if I do something, I'm doing it and I'm doing it well. And I don't need anybody else to say to me, oh, great job. Or let somebody else, tell me, how great I am. Do it because you know you can do it. Do it because you want to do it. Don't do it to seek approval. Needing approval. That's insecurity. That affects your relationships because if people are seeing you as needy, they may not want to be near you. It can pull away the relationship. It can cause a distance again in a relationship. When you work together as a team, it can cause someone not to want to be a teammate. In your relationship, when a person feels like the other person is needy, they need all the time, they need all the things, it can pull away. It can cause a person to pull away. So watch that. Unmet needs is another one that I want to talk about. And that's when you're unable to really articulate what you want or what you need in a relationship. It may be in a relationship, you do your love language quizzes and everybody knows what their love language is. And if you don't know, it might be a good thing to check those little tests out. But your love language or your needs in a relationship may be time. Well, another person's needs may be gifts. They like gifts. Or they like accolades like we were talking about before. So if the person you're with is always giving you gifts, and that's not your love language, your needs aren't being met. And I've been in a relationship like that, where it was constantly getting gifts. It would be a watch, it would be a purse, it would be shoes, it would be whatever. And I didn't really care about those material things like that. But what I did want, the need that I did have that wasn't being met, was quality time. I required quality time. And I wasn't getting quality time. And that need was going unmet. And I could not, and it goes back to the avoidance, where I didn't want to express how I felt for fear of making that person upset or fear of being rejected. So I accepted the gifts and was like, oh, thank you, all of that. But in reality, I just wanted time. And it wasn't always time of where, you had to go spend money. It could just be time sitting there and watching a movie. It could be time just going on a walk. So it's important that you make sure you articulate what your needs are. Because if not, it's going to be a chronic dissatisfaction in a relationship. And again, that pulls you apart. Your need isn't being met. You aren't being satisfied in this relationship because you have unmet needs and you're not voicing those unmet needs. So this is when you need to take time and you do self-awareness. Okay, I am aware that it's hard for me to express what my needs are. So then you figure out, how do I get to that point of being able to express this to my partner, to my spouse, without it causing a strain in our relationship? But you have to figure out where your low self-awareness lies so that it won't impact your relationship in a negative way and it pulls your relationship apart. And also, another thing I want to pull out right here, be aware of your triggers. Because a lot of times people aren't fully healed when they get into these relationships. And triggers are basically unhealed parts in you. And so it's something that's in you that may not be fully healed yet. So if you're trying to get into a relationship or you're in a relationship and there's something in you that's unhealed, and when a person does something, it triggers you, then that's when you know you need to work on that area. And that's being self-aware. That's being aware that this is a part of me that's unhealed, and I need to deal with that. I need to work on that so it doesn't affect my relationship as well. I think it was someone that I was coaching one time, and it was something that happened in her marriage with her husband, where he would leave and disappear for days. And so the guy that she was currently dating, if she didn't hear from him, like it could be out, like in one day, a few hours, if she didn't hear from him, that would trigger her and make her upset and think he was doing something that he may not have been doing. He could have been busy with work. He could have been busy with family members, or whatever the case may be. But that was a trigger point for her. And so she and I had to work through that, where she could get healed from that feeling of being abandoned, because that's what her ex-husband at the time did to her, that he would constantly do to her. So she needed to be healed from that point, so that things like that wouldn't trigger her when she didn't hear from her current boyfriend for a few hours. So that's being self-aware that that's something that I'm not healed from, and I need to heal from that before it affects my relationship. And it can be triggers on your job too. You know, where you've worked with a coworker and it just did not work. You were grouped with someone and it just did not work well together, and you move on and now you're on a different team, and your little things can be triggering to you. And it doesn't mean that this new team is just like your old team, but it's just that you aren't healed from what happened before. And in order for your relationship to grow with that team, or your spouse, or the person you're dating, or a family member, in order for your relationship to grow, you have to make sure that you are healed. And a lot of times we don't want to take time to get the healing. We want to say, oh, I'm over it, I'm done, I can move on. But when in reality, when you become self-aware, there's still parts of you that's unhealed. And so that's why you're easily triggered when small things happen, or when things happen that kind of favor something that may have happened in a relationship before, or in your past before. So make sure you're self-aware of what those triggers are. And then you're aware of, I need to get healing in this area. I need to be more aware of what's causing me to have these triggers. Where have I not gotten over something? And like I said, usually triggers mean you're not fully healed from that thing. And it's okay. It's okay to get the help. It's okay to do the work to recognize that, and to get the full healing that you need, so it does not affect your current relationships. Okay, let's talk about the 3 pillars of self-awareness for better relationships. So when we talk about these 3 pillars, and these are 3 pillars that I feel are important for better relationships, to better your relationship. But knowing your needs, number 1, you have to identify your needs. And when I'm saying needs, and I'm not saying wants. Needs and wants are different things. You have to do a needs inventory to determine, what is it that I need out of this relationship. So when you know your needs, you can better communicate to the person you're with your needs, and therefore that person can meet your need or not meet your need, and then you determine what you need to do with that relationship. But when you're aware of what your needs are, you can better express that to the people that you are in relationships with. It's important that when you're talking about your needs, that you use I statements. I need more communication. So can we set up a date night? I need more time away from the kids. So can we get a babysitter? You know, it's important that you express what you need and you use the I need statement, because it's important that your spouse understands we're not just getting a babysitter because you don't want to deal with your kids. No, I need some time to myself. I'm with the kids all day. I need some time to myself. Can we get a babysitter? I need more time with you so we can communicate better, so we can get an understanding. So can we have a date night? Okay, so you need to make sure you, first of all, know and understand what your needs are. Know and understand what's important when it comes to your needs and what's not. Meaning what are needs and what are wants. Because sometimes we take our wants and make them needs. So we have to make sure that we know what our needs are in a relationship. You can have wants in a relationship, but wants, the things you want in a relationship should not hinder your relationship from growing. But what you need in a relationship, if it's not communicated well with your other person, with the person you're in a relationship with, it can cause an issue in your relationship, and it can cause your friction where your relationship tears apart. So it's very important, number one, to know your needs and to communicate them. And communication is, to me, is always the key. It has to be communicated effectively. If it's not communicated effectively, it's not going to work. You have to be strong in your stance. And trust me, I can say this because I know what it's like to not communicate effectively what your needs are. So you need to make sure you communicate effectively. I need, in order for your relationship to be seen and grow. And then understanding, pillar number 2 is understanding your communication style. I believe that there are 4 different styles of communication. Passive, which is where you avoid expressing your needs, opinions, or feelings, is where you often prioritize others' feelings and wants and needs to avoid conflict, to avoid fear, to avoid rejection, whatever it is that you're trying to avoid. So when you're passive, you put your needs to the side and you focus on the other person's needs at all times. That's not healthy. Being passive is not healthy. And on the other end of that, being aggressive. Aggressive is the second style, communication style. And that's when you're hostile. You prioritize your needs while ignoring or disrespecting the other person's feelings and boundaries. So aggressive communication style is the opposite, where it's all about you. You don't care about what the other person need. You don't care. You disrespect that other person when they're trying to tell you what they need. You come up with reasons why that is not more important than yours. Again, that would cause a breakdown in your relationship that can cause your relationship to tear apart. Then you have passive aggressive. That's negative feelings or thoughts that are expressed directly, often concealing hostility behind a facade of politeness. It's a way to avoid direct confrontation, but still signal something is wrong, which often can lead to confusion, frustration, and resentment from your partner. So this is when you're kind of expressing how you feel, but not really. So you're sort of trying to be polite about it, and make a joke about it, when in reality, you need to be straight and upfront and say, this is how I feel. And that's being assertive. That's the last style. When you're assertive, when you're respectful, you're direct, you're honest, and you express your thoughts and feelings, and you're not violating the other person's rights, or not violating their, disrespecting their thoughts and opinions and feelings, but it's just being direct and and respecting. I understand what you're saying you need, but this is what I need as well. And that's being firm, and that's being upfront. You're not being negative. You're not putting yourself to the side, but you're just being assertive and you're being direct. So this is where you need to be self-aware and determine which one of these styles of communication do you fit in, and where you need to be. You need to be at a place where you're open and honest and respectful of the other person. But it's very important that you get your needs out. Okay? And so communication, y'all, if communication is not right in any relationship, it's just not going to work. If you can't respect the other person, or the other person can't respect you, if you can't express how you feel because you're afraid, or if you're just over other people and it's all about yourself, communication will cause a rift in your relationship. It will cause the relationship to break down. So it's very important that you have good communication skills in your relationship. And I do believe we've done a podcast already about communication, so you can go back and check it out. Just an actionable tip right here. Just reflect on your last argument. Think about the last argument you had with someone that you're in a relationship. Again, it can be on your job. It can be with a family member. It can be with your husband, wife, the person you're dating, whoever. But just think back about it. What style of communication did you use? Were you aggressive? Were you passive aggressive? Were you passive, or were you assertive? So think back on that. And then just think about how the style that you used in that argument, did it help or hurt your relationship? So I just want you to think about that. So the third pillar that I think is important is identifying your emotional patterns. And here I like to say there's power in pausing. And what I mean by that is there's space between the stimulus and the response. There's space there, meaning that when something happens, do you shrink down, or do you go from 0 to 100? But there's space there to pause and just to take everything in that's being said or being done before you respond. Because you don't want to respond in a way where you start shrinking down, and that you're not able to control your emotions, and you're not able to express yourself in the right way. And then there's the 0 to 100, where something is happening and you're ready to curse somebody out. You're ready to fight. You're ready to go to the very extreme. So there's a place where you can pause. There's a place where this happened. Now let me reflect on what happened before I give a response that can hurt my relationship, that can cause more pain or unnecessary pain to me or to that person. When you shrink down and you don't respond at all, or you emotionally respond with just crying and shutting down, that's causing hurt for yourself. And then when you do the extreme, where you may start saying things you will later regret. You may go on the deep end and cut deep, and then it hurts that person. And sometimes, either way, it's hard to come back. It's hard to come back because a person may look at you like you're shrinking down, that you're weak. and that they don't want to interact with you, or that they can't interact with you because anything that they say to you, you're just going to shrink. Your feelings are always going to be hurt. So they can't feel like they can't express themselves to you. And that can cause a problem in your relationship. And then on the other end, where you may go to the extreme. So I like to say there's power in pausing, where you just reflect on it. And it may be that you need to take time and say, hey, give me a minute. Give me a couple of days. Let me sit on this. Let me process what has just happened or what was just said. And it may mean that you need to journal, where you reflect back on what happened and to get your thoughts clear and your emotions under control. Because when we respond emotionally, sometimes it can turn out bad for us. So we got to identify our emotional pattern. Do I shut down, or do I go from 0 to 100? We want to be somewhere in the middle, where we can calmly respond to what is happening, where we can fully process what just happened. And that's why I say it's power in pausing. It's power. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, can we put a pause here in this discussion? Let us both separate and think about what is being said or what has happened, and then come back together when we have our thoughts together. Because that can prevent something to the extreme from happening that you may not want to happen later on. So an immediate actionable step that you can take today is to start practicing daily self-check-ins. Check on yourself and say, how am I feeling right now? And why do I feel this way? Check in when you have maybe a small conflict or an interaction with someone, and just say, how did I respond to that? What was my communication style like? Check in with yourself after, even sometimes with your kids, y'all. I've had a discussion with one of my boys or both of my boys, and then I later on replay that and said, you know what, I could have handled that differently. I could have said that differently. And then I've gone back to them and said, okay, let's talk about this again, and let me explain what I meant and how your feelings matter, but in correcting that and making it right with them. So it's like being aware of how you handled that situation. And it may not have been the best way that I handled it, but I went back so we can discuss it again and make things right. So when you daily check in and just check on yourself, like, how am I right now? How am I feeling? How are my responses to these different situations? And why did I respond that way? Was that a healthy response? Is that going to help my relationship grow? Or is that going to cause tension in our relationship that can possibly pull us apart? Look for different books or podcasts or blogs or anything on self-awareness. Knowing how to be more self-aware. It's tools out there. So look for different tools that can help you be more self-aware, so you can do the work to not harm your relationship, because you want your relationship again to grow. You want it to be healthy. So you have to put in the work for yourself and be aware of what you're doing, good or not so good, that can be causing your relationship not to grow. I would encourage you to even talk to a friend, someone that you can really share with, that will not judge you. And I would say, hey, what do you think about how I'm feeling here? What are your thoughts on this? How does this make you view me? Is it making you view me as a person who really cares about my relationships and I'm putting in the work to do it? Or does it seem like I'm coming off like it's all about me? Sometimes it's hard for us to really, truly be honest with ourselves when we're trying to check in with ourselves. Sometimes it's hard for us to see how what we're doing or what we're saying is destroying something that we're trying to build. So sometimes it's good to go to a person that you can truly trust and get their opinion. We have to show emotional intelligence, when it comes to ourselves, really critiquing ourselves, not critiquing ourselves in a negative way, but really checking in and being aware of how we're handling our day-to-day life and how we're handling our relationships. Because when people matter to you, you don't want that relationship to end. When you really care about somebody, your children, your spouse, your family members, your co-workers, you don't really want that relationship to end. So you want to do what you can to grow and to build. And so it's very important, because I do feel that self-awareness is a foundation for any relationship. You have to be aware of your part in your relationship. Like, I was married and I am now divorced. I recognize my part in that, where I did not meet the needs, or where I did not even meet my own needs, and even knew what my needs were. And if I did know them, did not express them the way I needed to express them. So these are the things that, why I say self-awareness is the foundation of relationships, because you don't want to be in la land about yourself and it's causing you to lose friends. It's causing you to lose opportunities on a job or in a business. It's causing you to not have great relationships with your children or other family members. So take the time to really check in with yourself. And if you feel like, I can't be honest with myself, I can't recognize where I may be missing the mark, get someone that will be honest with you. Do a check-in. Get somebody who will be real with you and say, hey, this is where you're missing the mark. But guys, like I said, I want your relationships to grow. I want your relationships to flourish. I want you to have what you want in that relationship. And if I can be of any help, I, again, am a life coach. You can reach me at lifeunstoppable.com. That's my website, where you can set up, email me, reach out. I am here for you. And if I am not a good fit, like I always say, if I am not a good fit, I know other coaches, I know therapists, anybody that can help you get to the point where you need to be in your relationships. It's all about being self-aware. It's always about knowing what you need to do better, or what you need to do to make sure everything is prosperous in your life, to make sure your relationships are healthy. We want good, healthy relationships, because when you have good, healthy relationships, it affects other areas in your life that can cause your relationships to grow, that could cause other areas in your life to grow. But guys, I do thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode was helpful for you. And again, like I said, if you need any guidance, if you need any help, reach out to me. I'm here. If you have more questions or you have thoughts, reach out to me. My email is rhcrowe, that's CROWE, at marriageunstoppable.com. Again, you can go to my website at lifeunstoppable.com to reach me. You can follow us on social media. Mainly Instagram is what I'm on, and just reach out. We would love to hear back from you. Any ideas that you have for topics, I would love to hear those as well. But we just hope that you're doing well, that you're living the life that's unstoppable. We're in a new year. We're just now into the third month of this year. There are still unstoppable moments that's going to happen this year. We want to continue to grow and be unstoppable in every area of our lives. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Love y'all guys for real. Peace.